Hello and welcome back to the DCS SITREP, the show about news and information on DCS World. It's brought to us by Eagle Dynamics and its numerous third-party affiliates. Now, as you may have noticed, we haven't had a lot of major news in the DCS environment right now directly from the team. There's been promotions of the sale and a few other little bits and pieces on the side there of note, but not necessarily top news about what's going on with the game. So I've been focusing on some other topics. One of those was the release of the Cold War map, the Cold War Germany map from Ugra Media, which remains one of the more interesting maps that I have seen in game. And I am going to do another discussion video on that because it raises some really interesting questions about what Ugra Media was able to do with the map and how they were able to do it and what we can expect to use this map for, because some people have questioned whether or not it's needed at all. Personally, I think it is fantastic. Now, as you may have noticed, there was a hotfix. There was actually a series of hotfixes after the release of the Cold War map to tidy up some bits and pieces that, needed tidying up. In this last patch, we saw a lot of campaigns get some attention from Reflected Simulations and Baltic Dragon, as well as a couple of other teams as well, such as Badger 633. Here's what was fixed. There were fixes for the F-14A in the Fear the Bones campaign by Reflected Simulations, Tanker Skin fixes by Tomcatter 87, the F-14B Speed and Angels campaign by Reflected Simulations also had the Tanker Skin fixes, the F-4E MiG Killers campaign by Reflected, all missions, safety trigger implementation for players who forgot to raise their flaps fully. He did talk about an error there where people were forgetting to do that. Moving on to the latest campaign from him, the Red Flag 81-2 campaign. All missions, dock and briefing typos are fixed. Aircraft wear and tear gradually increasing with progress. Safety trigger implementation for players who forgot to raise their flaps fully. The Arctic Thunder campaign by him, also missions now have new airfields assigned to the blue side. The Raven 1 Dominant Fury campaign by Baltic Dragon, mission 5 has been fixed with the IR prompt not working when talking to Knight. The A10C2 Enemy Within 3.0 campaign by Baltic Dragon, mission 13, a bug was fixed here with AI helicopters not landing near the target building. Fixed an issue with no debriefing after the mission. Note, the AI still sometimes can hit one another and crash. So still lots of work there from ED, I guess, needing to fine-tune some aspects of the AI, which is, as we know, an ongoing process and has been for some time. Now, the Rampages campaign, also by Baltic, they have adjusted the window of the deck for recoveries, the fixed scoring for departure procedures, and updated liveries for the VFA 25 and VFA 143 aircraft. Mission 1, extended window for departures by 15 minutes, updated recovery times in the briefing. Mission 2, they've added additional instructions reminding users to set laser code on the app flare and silence the AWACS magic calling out BRA to Russian or Syrian aircraft operating over central Syria. Mission 3, tanker instructions for wingmen can now only appear if a player and wingmen return together to tanker. Added missing score for truck park target. Mission 4, they've added missing debriefing music. For Mission 5, they've fixed 309 was reporting kilo before established outbound, and fixed wingman asking player to wait up when already joined up. Mission 12, they fixed the reminder to state correct frequency for killbox controller, increased the size of the zone for orbiting over Deir ez-Zor, and removed units that could cause wingmen to return to attack these. Mission 14, they've fixed possible crash if the wingman is dead and delayed 307 and 309 departures, updated target instructions and updates to subtitles. Mission 17, fixed possible sound overlap with historical debriefing. The Operation Green Line campaign by Badger 633, they've now added some data cartridge notes. The Rise of the Persian Lion 2, missions 1 to 7 and 9 to 13, data transfer cartridge notes have been added. Mission 8, all variants, tech failure timer changed, wing attacking wrong target has been fixed and the data transfer cartridge notes have been added. Rise of the Persian Lion 1, missions 1, all variants, wing RTBs, low fuel has been fixed. Mission 13, all variants, sound file conflict has been fixed. Lastly here, for the Harrier Hormuz Freedom campaign by Sorrel Rowe. Missions 2 to 6 changed the main character voices, replaced old F4 model with their new Heat Blue F4E for the Iranian Air Force, and trigger logic has been changed for AI, added new static units for the Siri Island Airport, and additional voices have been added. So some good updates there. Why we haven't had lots of news? Well, hard to know. My suspicion is that ED's working on some stuff, and we probably will expect a patch at some point. Whether that's at the end of this month or the beginning of next is difficult to know because it depends on what they are working on. Could they be working on getting a new module in-game here with, say, for example, the LA7 by Octopus G, which for all intents and purposes looks ready to plonk into the game? And there may be some other things as well, like, I don't know, the dynamic campaign. Where are they at with that? Hard to know. So that might be a little bit over enthusiastic there. There has been discussion about the conflict between Razbam and ED. Some of that news was, how shall I say it? It was in the wind, put it this way. And it was not something I was going to discuss to any great degree. So I'm not really going to touch on that topic. We'll let the people that have already flogged it to death flog it to death. And I feel like it's easy to flog that topic to death, and I'd rather focus on positive things, to be honest, because it gets a bit depressing. Well, it's been 80 years since the end of the Second World War, and ED rightly reminded us that May 8th, which is just passed by the time you're hearing this video, marks the Victory in Europe Day celebrations. Technically speaking, I believe the unconditional surrender was signed on the 7th, the day before, and then there was still some negotiations, if you like, with the Russians, who had some caveats that they wanted to add into this whole thing. So there was another copy, or a copy of it was signed also in Berlin on the 9th. So nonetheless, it saw effectively the end of fighting in Europe. I believe there was still some resistance. It wasn't completely stopped, as some forces remained, and guys like Alfred Jodl on the German side helped to negotiate the surrender. He himself, of course, was convicted of war crimes at the Nuremberg trials and was executed, along with obviously many other German commanders, and certainly those responsible for the wholesale roundup and effective attempts to exterminate Jewish people within the occupied territories of Europe under Nazi rule. So a brutal, nasty time. Now, preserving history is certainly one of my passions, and ED reminded us too that their renditions of aircraft like the P-51D, the Spitfire LAF Mark 9, and the Mosquito FB4, as well as the P-47D Thunderbolt, along with the German Bf-109K4 and the FW-190A and D, are great examples of the preservation of these aircraft in the virtual world, because let's be real, there are very few of these aircraft flying. They are not cheap to house, maintain, insure, and all the rest of it. They're practically priceless. They're basically irreplaceable. And I think just a few days ago we saw images of there's a two-seater Spitfire, and I don't know if it's the only one, but I saw it had crash landed in England a few days ago. Looks like it was able to looks like it's repairable, based on what I could see. Obviously, it suffered some pretty extensive damage, but didn't catch fire, which was very fortunate, and it looks like the pilot was able to walk away. I'm not sure if there was a passenger, but nonetheless, you know, there's very few of these aircraft left, so when anything like that happens, there's a great peril or potential peril that the aircraft won't fly again, just because of the cost of repairing them. You can't just go out and buy parts anymore. Everything has to be either sourced if there is a part available, or potentially manufactured from scratch, which is a difficult and expensive process. So it's wonderful to, you know, be able to fly these aircraft in the virtual world, because many of us will never fly them in the real world, or certainly even get to fly in them as a passenger. So the work that Eagle Dynamics is doing here is actually, you know, kind of important, and it keeps those aircraft alive for other generations too. So it's cool stuff, and I would like to see more, of course, World War II aircraft, especially on the German side. We only mentioned 2 there. I think there's scope, I hope there's scope for other aircraft, and we are waiting for the LA-7 to come through from Octopus G, which will be a nice addition as well. So, like I said, I'd like to see more, and of course, as I mentioned before, the Pacific campaign, we're still waiting for the Marianas Islands World War II version of the map to come to fruition here as well, which is going to provide some interesting options for players as well. Well, thanks for tuning in again for another DCS SITREP. This brings us to the end, a short one with, I guess, things cooking in the background by Eagle Dynamics. So we'll wait and see what they have going and what they're going to bring to us. I presume we're going to have a patch here soon, and if not this month, well, certainly hopefully something in June with regards to material that we discussed previously. I apologize, apparently I can't say cartridge. I kept saying cartridge. I noticed during the editing of this video, which was not intended. Sometimes the brain goes elsewhere and different things come out of the mouth than what you expect. These things occur. We have a couple of other videos. I have another video that I'm hoping to release tomorrow, if all goes according to plan in terms of the editing, with regards to what makes a great module in DCS world. Also, we need to do a review of the SimFab chair that I bought from SimFab, which has been fantastic, I must say. I'm very happy with the purchase, and I will tell you why in an upcoming video. I've got a couple of other pieces of equipment from Virpil that I've been using, KA50 panel and the KA50 collective handle with the base unit, which has been also really good to use. And Pimax have given me a Crystal Super, which I will be testing as well, and that represents, I think, from what I've seen already, the pinnacle of VR experiences, certainly for DCS World. So stay tuned for that. I'm really looking forward to getting a video out on that, and also we'll be updating the discount codes that you can use if you are interested in purchasing one of those units yourself, or even some of the other units that they have, such as the Crystal Light and the Crystal OG, if you like, for want of a better term there. So lots coming. It's going to be a busy summer for me, as Mrs. Prickly Hedgehog has a few tasks for me that I need to start doing today. So let's wrap this up. We'll see you next time on the DCS SITREP. This is Prickly Hedgehog out.